Hey, Shalom, welcome to Karma Kapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chakadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video. And I'm just, I'm doing this video. I thought I had already done this video, to be honest. But obviously I hadn't got around to doing it. But yeah, this whole verification trend that's going around, the entire earth right now. These digital IDs and positive IDs and all these things, right? Meant to make you know, things safer for civilians, right? And to be better managed and easier managed, and to be more efficient or whatever, right? It all sounds good in practice, but this is nothing but a snare that Esau is creating globally, right? Because this news coming out of the UK, but we know these things, and this agenda is being incorporated over the whole world, even in parts of the world you wouldn't even think about, because you think they're behind on certain technology because they're so-called third world or whatever, right? But some of these third world nations are more ahead in terms of these this digital ID than some of these so-called first worlds, right? Bro has been speaking about it at camp and certain videos recently, like places like Ghana and whatever, right? They got this system up and running, right? So it's a global thing that Esau is pushing in the earth, right? Getting all their leaders and their puppet leaders and their global organizations to get these nations to push this technology and push this snare, right? Because what it not that it started with it, but the latest big one that came out was verifying the age of users on them porn sites, right? To make sure that they're not underaged or whatever, right? And yeah, because on the back of that, it sounds great, right? It stops young people going on that shit, and well, the shit shouldn't exist anyway. But stopping young users going on it and whatever, yeah, that sounds good. Everyone would be in agreement of that, right? Everyone would be like pro, yeah, let's get verification, but not knowing or understanding that this is going to get pushed further down the line to everybody, and soon you're going to need verification to use everything. And in some ways, in many ways, it's already like that, right? When you want to go use certain apps, right? You have to get the two-factor authentication and all that kind of stuff, right? These things that are being advanced, right? And soon, for you to access anything, you're gonna need, this identification, this verification, right? To access anything, right? To make it quote unquote safe. All right, and that's what's coming down the pipeline, right? When this whole system crashes, and we get fed fed to the beast, fed with the MOTB in this world. You're gonna have to have that mark, as the scriptures say, right? I'm gonna open up with it, right? It's Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, right? Because you don't have, you can't be verified, right? You don't have access. Okay, you haven't got the permissions. You're not permitted, right, to buy and sell, right? Save or accept he that have or had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, right? So you can see how they're shutting off people from things if you're not, going through the the right channels, right? If you can't be verified, if you don't want to be verified, then you can't access the site, you can't access the app or the service. A lot of these things make you make an account and for this and that. What's it? Went to a game, like a preseason game, football game, and like I ain't been for like I don't know, years, decades, right? And it just seems so long-winded when you haven't, like, they make you open up a Google Wallet account or whatever. Like, you can't get the ticket otherwise. Like, they'll sell you the ticket, right? But for you to access the ticket, you have to make an account with this, with this company or Google, whatever, for you to be to get access to the ticket, for you to be able to use it to get inside the stadium or whatever. I was like, right, this is what they're doing now. Before you just, you get your email with your I don't know, your barcode or whatever it is that used to be on it, and you just print it out. Simples. Right? But now you gotta go through this whole method of, basically verifying who you are, that you're the one that received the ticket. Right? That's basically what it is, right? And so this is what's happening, what's gonna happen with everything. All right? And so you're gonna be channeled down this hole, right? And if you don't, then you're gonna lose access to everything. You ain't gonna be on your YouTubes and all the different things that you use, because you ain't, you're gonna have to be identified, right? He still wants to know that it is you, inexplicably you, right? So this is just a post on X. There's no article to this, but it says here, press release from government.uk, which is uk.government website. Company's House confirms identity verification rollout from 18th of November 2025, right? So that's a few months, a few months from now. We're in August, mid-August, September, October, November. A few months from now. Yeah, it's like the 15th, 16th, no, 15th today, right? So we are phasing in identity verification over 12 months to make things simpler, quotation marks, right? For companies and business owners, right? Yeah, because things are better when they're simple, right? Because for some reason, we have this convoluted system. I wonder why. So it can be simplified, made simplified, right? Ready for this time, right? Esau knows that the system that he's had built and created is not a great system. It works as long as they keep it working, right? But it's not efficient, and everyone knows this. This system is a pile of trash, right? It was made to fail. And it's decided when the these kind of pull the plug on the system. That's all it is. And this thing is not self-sustainable, right? So they introducing this technology to make things simpler, right? To be more manageable. Your information and your whatever is safer when you're online and this and that, and fraud is cancelled out. Money laundering maybe. Yeah, money laundering is cancelled because you can't just run around with the cash. Like, it's supposed to improve things, right? Not understanding that this is all just a ploy to get you in a cage. So we are phasing in identity verification over 12 months to make things simpler for companies and business owners, right? So yes, it starts in these different places, of course, and then tyranny. I didn't see that was here. Let me read this quick. So in order to run a UK business, the government are forcing us to give them our facial recognition data, right? They want them to know and make sure that it is you, that you're not some fraudulent fellow. Even though the most fraudulent people are there up in the top, or your politicians and the CEOs, these corporations and these elites, right? They're the most fraudulent people, but they want to keep their eye on you to make sure that you're above board. But these are more criminal than anybody else. It's crazy, right? This could be used to track us via public facial recognition cameras, right? Something akin to what they got running in China right now with the social credit system, right? Which is what happens in which is what happens in China, reinforced by our new digital ID, because everybody's got to have a digital ID today. So everybody's working on it. Funny enough, right? Everybody. Why the massive push? Right? Because it's all got to be uploaded to these systems, and that's why all these fucking data storage data centers are being built everywhere, using up bare water. So you got a poster bro put up in the chat recently, right? Because I think it's the UK government again. They want us to limit the use of certain things, and one of them was water, right? Oh yeah, it was water, right? And one of the reasons being because the data centers use water, right, to cool the data centers or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck's that got to do with me? So why don't you work out a way to to keep your shit cooled without water and leave me with my water in it? You got to fucking cut down water. You man take the piss. But that's their thing in it. They got to protect their thing in it, right? But everyone else has got to suffer. These people, man. I was talking to a woman this morning because they did. God, these men are devils, man. I'm getting pissed off with these fucking devils, man. They're just causing you to lose money everywhere, man. But that's just scriptures, man. Pocket full of holes, bro. That's what it is. These men are just taking money left, right, and center, man, every which way. Right, it just vexes you, man, because you're trying to create a hedge or whatever, and then these men are just eating it like moths. It's exactly what the scriptures are, man. Everything's just moth eating. These men are fucking moths, fucking mothballs, bro, mothras and shit. Anyway, that's a side point. Anyway, fuck it, But but yeah, right. So yeah, everyone's gonna have this digital ID, right? So reinforced by a new digital ID, the UK government are requiring some powerful tools for tyranny. Yeah, because Esau wants to keep an eye and tabs on everybody, right? That is what he wants. I say he's got a God compass. He wants to be like the Mosai. He wants to keep an eye on everybody and make sure everybody's legit. But the only person, well, not the only person, but but who's the least legit? It's these devils, man. These devils are the least legit, right? But no one's keeping an eye on them. No one knows what the fuck these elite are doing on a day-to-day basis. Ain't no one watching them. But nah, everyone else is gonna get watched though. It's Ezekiel 28 verse 3 says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel." Let me read up. Verse 2, "Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God Yahweh, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God." Right? Esau's sitting on the top of the world right now. Okay, ruling over all these nations. Right? He's at the top of the world right now, man. Living in luxury. Yeah, he's feeling good right now. Right? He's moving forward with his plans. Right? Soon he's gonna have the whole world, connected up to his NWO, to Internet of Things, where he can watch everybody 24/7 real time with the help of his AIs and shit. Right? He can control what everybody does, what everybody eats, where everybody goes. He's moving forward with that, so he's feeling pretty good, man. Right? He's about to have a whole bunch of subservient peons, right? Begging for scraps from him, right? Because he still gets off on that type of shit, man. Knowing that you're in a fucked up position, man, you're just begging. He's sadistic, man. But he says, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, which represents the nations. Yet thou art a man and not God, right? So you don't get to put yourself up as God. You don't get to give yourself all this power, which only you haven't given it to yourself. But this is what you're striving to have, this amount of power over all the nations. Bro, it's not made for you, man. Chill. You're just an Edomite, right? You don't you have no right to none of this. Okay, you're the servant. But anyway, so though thou set thy heart as the heart of God, right? Your ambitions, right? Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee, man. Esau don't want nothing hidden from him. That's why he wants to know everything, right? He wants to know where you're going online. He wants to be there to see you. Oh, is that what you're doing? And he wants to say whether or not you can or can't do something. He want that type of power, man. Where he out there making the decisions for you. You have to ask him for permission before you do everything. That's what he wants, right? The Most High at least give us the illusion of free will. He don't want to give you no illusion of free will, man. He wants to be there. Are you? How old are you? You know what I'm saying? What you look like, what you doing right now, what site you want to access. So you have to jump through hoops to use anything or do anything, man. This guy's a devil. This guy's a damn fucking devil, man. He says, with thy wisdom and with thy understanding thou hast gotten these riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. And by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God Yahweh, because thou hast set in thine heart as the heart of God, Behold, therefore I'll bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and shall draw their sword against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. Right. So it's not going to end well for Esau, and trying to get godlike powers, right, through his technology. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Right, who launcheth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Right, these elites, like I said, they're already on top of the world, bro. Like you can stop here. But this isn't enough for him. This is what's crazy, right? What he's achieved thus far and what he has right now is not enough. And like I gone into the last video, man, it's because he has this obsession, man. He has this complex, man, that he just can't shake because he's made to be the wicked. Right? And he wants to replace the Heavenly Father, man. He wants the worship, the fear. He wants all of that, man. And this is how he's gone about getting it. And he won't stop. He won't stop. Right? But he's made to be a bottomless pit. So ultimately, he's just going to destroy himself, ultimately. Right? But yeah, he says that he cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heateth unto him all people, right? This is why it's what he's doing is a global thing. It's not just confined, like we got reading the article from the UK, but we know it's not just going on in the UK. This is something that's going on in the whole earth right now. Like in places you wouldn't have thought it would be going on. Because he's sort of looking to get everybody under his everybody in his net, so to speak, right? So he heapeth unto him all peoples. He's not trying to leave people out, really. He wants them all underneath him, under his banner, taking his mark, being a part of his system, so he can control, so he can dictate. That's what he wants, right? And these verification things is just, his way of funneling you in that direction, because he's made you reliant on technology. He's made you reliant on apps or whatever. He's taking your jobs, and he's made you reliant on doing certain things you're used to, right? He's sort of made you use contactless cards and all these contactless payments and stuff like that. You've become normalized to those things, right? So when there's no cash, it's like, what do you do? Like, well, you have to use the system now, but you can't use the system because you're not permitted to use it unless you've been identified, verified. And that's how Esau's pushing you in that direction, man. This is Genesis 11 verse 6. It says, and the Lord said, behold, this people is one, and they have all one language. This is going back to the Tower of Babel, right? And if you can imagine the king on top of Babel, just watching everybody in the tower, right? That's Sauron, isn't it? Right? His eyes over everybody, right? He gathereth everybody to himself, and he's watching over them. That's what Esau wants, right? So the Lord said, behold, this people is one, and they have all one language, right? They're all part of this one system, right? So not only are languages, everybody has to learn English at some point if they want to do business or fly planes or whatever, right? English is that what they call that, man? That universal language type thing, like for business and stuff, man. Oh, there's a term for it. Elders, apostles mention it a few times. Francolingua, something like that, right? Like these other nations, like you might be in China, they're learning English, right? Because they have to enter Esau's world, right? They have to learn things in English or whatever, or maybe they might even have to learn Greek, Latin sometimes, and depending on what it is that they're learning. Like they will have to learn Esau's ways, right? So they'll have to pick up English as a second language. That's why a lot of these other nations, they speak other languages, right? English will usually be one of them, right? But English, they don't really learn shit, really. They don't learn extra languages, really. But anyway, it says they were of one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they imagine to do. Right? Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Right? Only the Most High is going to destroy Esau's new system, that he's building, and destroy the nations, basically, man. They're going to go into slavery, right? But this is what Esau's doing. He's trying to bring everybody together onto this new system, this one world order, this new world order, right? That's what he's currently doing. All right, but it didn't work then, and it ain't gonna work now, because again, the Most High is gonna interject, right? And what does the scripture say? Does it spoil the devices of the crafty? What is this? He disappointeth, right? Joel 5 and 12 says, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Right? So the Most High is not going to allow them to finish, just like he didn't allow them to finish then. All right? But it's like, Esau, he's hard-headed, right? He's rebellious. He don't learn from history, right? He doesn't, he forgets that, Most High is the one that's in control. All right? Okay, this James chapter 2 verse 6, but ye have despised the poor, do not rich men oppress you, right? These are all agendas of the elites, right? And they're the ones controlling all these think tanks and these large corporations, right? They're the ones, and the politicians, the presidencies, and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that create policy, right? So they're the ones dictating all of that. That's why they're all working on it, right? To lay down the infrastructure, like I said, through their technology, right? Daniel 8 verse 25 says, and through his policy he also would he cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but shall be broken without hand, right? So like I said, all this is being pushed upon us like this is a benefit or beneficial for mankind, right? It's going to make things run smoother and be more safer, be cheaper, all these different types of things. Right, this is how it's being sold to us. Like all this stuff, all this new technology is going to save us, going to make things better for us. But we've been told that for years, and things have really getting worse. Right, just like machines. Oh yeah, we've got machines in the workplace now. Yeah, it's going to make us more efficient. But who's it really benefit? It benefits these company owners, right? It didn't benefit the people. Right, yeah, it's cool. You got machines now pumping up better cars or whatever, but then slowly, man are losing their jobs. Good paying jobs, then they have to work lower paid jobs. Now, fast forward today, they're struggling because they everything is gone up in price and they can't get, decent wages, and we're just getting pushed further and further down into the bracket of the poor. Right, so all this technology that's touted to be, revolutionary and great for, great for us, the world, and make things quicker, simpler, more convenient. Yeah, it really only benefits the elites ultimately. It doesn't benefit us. It destroys us. It destroys the common people. Right, and it'll be no different with this. These are tools. All these technology are tools of the elites, man, to forward their agenda. It's not made for our benefit. Just like the Neuralinks and all these different things. Yeah, it sounds cool. Oh yeah, my man can walk now. But what's the real reason it exists? It's not to serve people. So yeah, through his technology that he's doing, he's pushing these agendas, right? So, with that. In Psalm 64 verse 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Right? So again, it's just, the men behind the scenes, the elites, that are pulling all these strings, right? So who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly they do shoot at him and feared not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. Right? The Tower of Babel was an evil thing. Right? Because like I said, they were being defiant against the Heavenly Father, man. They was all acting in wickedness, thinking that they could subvert judgment from the Heavenly Father. Subvert another flood, which was terrible, right? It was the greatest judgment that ever occurred, right? And they thought like they could resist the Heavenly Father from and do wickedness basically, and they don't have to worry about no judgment, right? They'll build a tower so high that it can't be flooded. It's dumb, right? It's dumb because they wanted to carry on in their wickedness. All right. Since they encourage themselves in an evil matter, they commune of laying snares privily, traps. Right, all these things that they're creating are traps. Right, looking to box you in. Right, that's what all these moves are. They're chess moves, man, and that's what they're doing. They're boxing you in until you got you in that checkmate position where you can't do shit. Right now, it's like, if you ever play chess, you can put someone in a check position. But there's a little way out. There's a little wiggle room that you can get out and keep yourself from being got. Now it's like that for the time being. We're being made to conform to certain things, but we still got an element of freedom. That we can do things and whatever and feel like, oh, it's not so bad. It's not so bad, yeah. But you're gonna come to a point where there ain't gonna be no room to move. Okay, you're gonna be in that checkmate position, man, and you're finished, man. No matter where you move to, you're checkmated. Right? There really is no room to go nowhere. And that's what Esau's doing. He's building that cage around you, all this infrastructure, to the point where you can't move anymore. Right? And you have no other options. There's no way to escape. And if this was war, right? Because chess is like a simulation of war, right? It's a mental strategy game, right? But in a real war, well, I guess the option is that you become a captive, right? You submit, right? The army gives up or whatever, or the king, hands himself over, or whatever the case may be, right? In chess, you just take the piece in it, but that's what's gonna happen to the people. The people are gonna be submit themselves, and Esau's gonna be like, okay, yeah, brand yourself, take my brand, okay, which is the MOTB, right? Now you serve me, and you haven't got no choice because the other option is death, right? And most people are not going to choose that, all right? So this is what Esau's doing, okay, with these things, which I say look small, fairly small on the surface. It's like, oh, it's still starting off in these businesses or whatever. Or we'll make sure that only the right age people can go on the porn sites. Well, yeah, it sounds doesn't sound like it affects you right now, as a just an everyday person. Doesn't sound like it affects you right now. But you already seen it when you want to log on to certain websites, or whatever, YouTube, Google, whatever. You have to have these accounts, and these accounts are all linked and all that kind of stuff. So you need to have your two-factor authentication, all these different types of things. It's already started to happen, but it's made to make you feel like you're being more safe or being more protected online because of hackers, because there's so many hacks going on. I wonder who's orchestrating all these hacks, because they make you sound like some pubescent pubescent teenager, right, in their bedroom somewhere hacking these sites. Come on, man. These are obviously government operatives. They're on the payroll, man. Right, to make you feel like that you're not secure. All right, and for you to be more secure, well, you got to do things like this. Esau's intelligent, man. He's a cunning hunter. Right? He's good at manipulating you to do the things that he wants you to do. All you got to do is create the right situation, right? The right scenario, and that's what he's good at. There's a lot of these things that happen, man. They didn't just happen. They were planned. What do you think goes on in these in these think tanks and then in these Bilderberg meetings and stuff like that? How are they gonna get you to do what they want you to do? That's what's being discussed. This is back in verse 5. So they encourage themselves in an evil matter, they commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Because these people don't see what's going on. You don't understand the intricacies of what Esau's doing. right? Because you don't want to believe there's some evil entity in the background, pulling all the strings, right? But that's exactly what's going on, right? That's why these leaders meet in they meet up, G7, G20s, and whatever these fucking G's are, right? Like they all meet up, and this is what they'll discuss, right? They all be giving directives, and they carry them out. They all work together, right? And like I said, it affects the whole world. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, but of the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep, right? So don't underestimate them, man. Like I said, they're extremely intelligent in how they go about their business, man. Right? So what you think is, impossible to pull off, well, you're just a fucking idiot on the ground. Like you're just you're just a serf in a kingdom. You're not on their level. Like these, this is what I mean. They can't fathom it because they're not on the level to do it. They couldn't possibly think. They're just not on that level. These Edomites, for the most part, are fucking dumb as rocks, man. The elite are an intelligent class, man, and that's why they're rulers over you, right? And you can't fathom the things that they're able to do, right? They're into so much shit that you just, all the witchcraft that they're into. Most of these Edomites not on that level, man. They don't know shit. That's why you don't think it's possible. But yeah, man, these Edomites are an elite class, and they're elite class for a reason, man. Okay, they're on a different level to the rest of you Edomites. So Isaiah 14. I'm gonna close up with this, right? Verse 30. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Right? So like I said, he wants to keep eyes on you at all times, man. So he wants to make sure that, when you log on, that it's you. Right? They ain't some imposter trying to pretend to be you. Or you trying to use a false identity so you can get away with something. He don't want all of that. Right? If you ain't got the right credentials, man, you're not getting access to anything. Right? And that's how it's going to play out when it comes to the famines, right? When it comes to getting access to food. If you ain't got the right credentials, you don't have that MOTB, right? You ain't going to be getting shit, right? Because you ain't part of his system. There was something else I didn't read. All right, Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? If you don't want to be identified in this, it's obviously you're a criminal element because you got something to hide. Right? You ain't gonna get no access to nothing. Right? You're gonna have to take that mark of the beast to be verified. Right? And that's gonna link up with all your personal data, your image, right? Your what do you call that? Your biometrics, right? It's all gonna be linked up. And so if you don't match, you ain't getting access to nothing, man. Right? So you really have to beg to be a part of it, man. And anybody that don't want any part of it, well, like I say, you're gonna come with great wrath, man, and you're gonna see that, and you're gonna be putting people to death, right? So let me just finish this off again, right? It says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right? So there's gonna be rich stipulations for you to be able to access things, and like I said, it's already started to happen, but you wait until it becomes over things that of actual importance, like food. Ain't gonna be just about accessing websites. That's gonna be the least of your issues. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Lord, when this is edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.